Good morning again. And it is another glorious blue-skied day in Tucson, a lovely day for a walk in the mountains. I'd like you to join me for such a walk. For me, it's one of discovery, not only of self-discovery, but one of discovery about Mountain Vista UU. I would very much enjoy your company as we begin one step at a time. Well, where do we begin? I'd like to tell you a story of a family. Now, this may not seem like a logical beginning for a walk, but bear with me. I think I can tie this together and other steps we'll take so that we travel in a somewhat straight line. It's a story that I heard only early this summer, just before going on an extended vacation, which I'll also talk about because the vacation is another step along our journey to Mountain Vista. Now, the story of the family is really more about the children. There were four, 2 boys, 2 girls. They all grew up in the same house with the same parents. All 4 attended and graduated from college. All got married, all had children. But that's where the similarities end. 3 of them, 2 brothers and the older sister, held responsible jobs until their happy and well-earned retirements. The 4th child, the other sister, did not retire. In fact, she was barely able to hold any job, had a bitter divorce, and became estranged from her only child. This sister descended into alcoholism, drug abuse, and severe depression. Finally, after she hit rock bottom by entering an emergency room with thoughts of suicide, she found help. And after many months of treatment, including much assistance and comfort from her siblings, she was well enough to say to her psychiatrist, "I feel worthless. I feel so worthless." Remember that remark. I did. It's the kind of remark that stays with you. And it was within me even when I went to Europe this summer for vacation, which is, as I said, another step along the hike we've begun. Yes, my dear wife and I were able to travel to Eastern Europe and Ireland in mid-June and take a 16-bus tour of many cities in Eastern Europe, including Budapest, Krakow, Warsaw, Berlin, Dresden, Prague, and Vienna. We saw historic sites and enough cathedrals to turn me Catholic. I resisted. We visited castles and palaces and museums. We listened to live piano playing of Chopin in, you guessed it, Warsaw. And we heard a Strauss concert in Vienna. I saw the beauty of Prague and the horror of Auschwitz. After Eastern Europe, we flew to Ireland for an 8-day southern tour of that island. And yes, we visited Blarney Castle. I did not kiss the Blarney Stone, figuring I already have enough of the gift of gab that I don't need any more. Another step and stop along the way, a step in this journey, was Waterford, Ireland. Does that name ring a familiar bell? Well, I must confess it didn't for me until I was informed this is the city where the world-famous Waterford crystal was made. It's a company that dates back to 1783, a manufacturer of everything from glassware to the crystals for the giant ball that drops in Times Square, Manhattan on New Year's Eve. The chandeliers in Windsor Castle and the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. are Waterford crystal. And if that isn't enough, well, Waterford makes the trophy for the Masters Snooker Championship. Well, we all know snooker, don't we? As it turns out, however, all that is left now in Ireland is a display manufacturing site. Waterford, it seems, was bought out by Wedgwood, and the two combined to go bankrupt. They have since reorganized, not as well as the Swiss watch industry, and Waterford is doing poorly. Probably the primary reason is because of, yet again, changing tastes. Young people just aren't into Wedgwood dishes and Waterford glasses and vases and such, not even snooker trophies. What's left of Waterford are small manufacturing plants in Eastern Europe. Young people, changing tastes, another step. That evening, after touring the Waterford Crystal site, as I sat brooding over the visit with a pint of Guinness, I thought, I'm seeing so much, enjoying so much, taking so much in, but who else benefits? What's the worth of this trip? And this thought brought me back to that family story and the sister I heard about 2 months before, the comment, I feel so worthless. Thinking about it, I wondered if the psychiatrist might have asked, then what would it take to make you feel worthwhile? And in considering that, I had an epiphany, the aha moment, as I suddenly realized this whole wonderful vacation was a total benefit to me. I, like my fellow travelers, was taking everything in. Now, you can argue that I was spending money helping the local economy, and that way I was giving, but simply spending money was a small consolation to me. If, in fact, I was in that counseling session with the sister and psychiatrist, could I just as easily ask, what makes me feel worthwhile? And as long as I'm into asking questions, it came to mind, what about what happened in Waterford because of these young people and changing tastes? How does it all fit together? This question led me to have another pint of Guinness. It also helped me along my walk of self-discovery to another, perhaps bigger step. What if at the end of the day being when I do go gentle into that good night, and when I no longer rage against the dying of the light, what will I want to and what will I be remembered for? Is it enough to be a decent enough man, a good husband and a father? I still haven't hashed out the answer to that. But all these questions suddenly opened up yet another step on my journey of discovery. Mountain Vista, you must understand, is never far from mind. Even while in Ireland, I remembered all your smiling, friendly faces. Maybe it was the Guinness. Anyway, so it was that in asking all these questions, I wondered, what if we were to look at us, this congregation, Mountain Vista UU, in the context of being one individual? And if we are one, and we as one will someday also face that good night, well, what will we be remembered for? What will be the Mountain Vista worth? Here are my thoughts. First, in this walk of ours, let's not make a misstep by you thinking that I believe we're worthless. Nothing could be farther from the truth. What I'm trying to say in the form of a question, and perhaps probably very poorly, is how could we, in fact, become more worthwhile? Let us consider, too, that we're here on Sundays primarily for our own benefit. Again, I'm not saying that's wrong. Indeed, it's good. It's proper. We are here to become better people. But how can our attendance benefit others, the greater Tucson community? Is giving money to the woven baskets enough? Have our many social outreach programs through the years been enough? Are we relevant? Or are we going to become Waterford Crystal in the eyes of the younger who come after us? I believe in my 5+ years of attendance here, I've witnessed all of us in this congregation asking these same questions, and not just once, but many times. As a result, I see a reformation of our social action into social justice. I see a need to revisit our mission and vision for this reason. In fact, I see the entire Unitarian Universalist Association questioning, what can we do? What can we do? One example of our possible future appeared in the winter edition of the UU World. Perhaps you read the article by the Reverend Tom Shade. He said, being a community is thinking small. According to the Reverend Shade, Building a religious community is but a means to that larger end, that being trying to change the world by encouraging people to live in a different way. In regards to social justice, he believes our purpose is bigger than changing some laws or ushering in a much-needed social reform. Rather, he states, our purpose is to develop people who would care about an issue and feel the strength to act. He ends his article with the question, what if we thought of our community as not just the people who gather with us on Sunday morning, but all their friends too, and all their friends' friends, and everyone who follows them. Unitarian Universalism's purpose, to summarize, is much bigger than gathering with like-minded people for mutual support. Now, as we walk the path that I propose we're on, I cannot say I have the answer to where the path will lead. I only suggest this. We are known as Mountain Vista UU. To me, that name has two definitions. The first is that we have a view of mountains. And indeed we do, and we have been quite proud of that view for more than 20 years that we've owned and resided on this property. But I also submit that Mountain Vista can mean more. And this is where our walk together can take us. I believe Mountain Vista can mean a view, a vista, from on top of the mountains, looking out at so very, very much more. Now, please don't think I'm advocating we move to the top of Mount Lemon. My vista is more figurative. For I'd like to see the day when here in Tucson, from the Catalinas to the Tucson Mountains, from the Tortolitas to the Santa Ritas, when a stranger asks, what church are you? What congregation? And we answer, Mountain Vista, UU. That person asking will then reply, oh yeah, Mountain Vista. I know you well. You're the congregation that. How do we become that congregation? Well, I submit we begin internally with ourselves. As Reverend Ron said last week, it begins with kindness. So I'd like you all to consider the work that is being done by not only the paid staff, but by those who are volunteering on our many committees and task teams and the choir. When's the last time you thanked them for what they're doing? We can never have enough thank yous given to us, can we? And this is a way of giving. It's free. It's worthwhile. A second idea. If you're not already a member of a committee, a task team, the choir, think hard about joining. We need your talent. And to paraphrase John Kennedy, ask not what your congregation can do for you. Ask what you can do for your congregation. Third, let all of us, participate in whatever way we can in the review of our mission and vision. No matter how small you may think your input will be, it will be necessary. And finally, when looking at going beyond our walls, let us, all of us, think of how we can focus our social justice energies. How can we do more with what we're planning to do? And in the future, how can we do more, period? In this endeavor, we can never have enough volunteers. Would all of this not bind us closer together into that entity we call Mountain Vista UU? Would it not help all of us to feel even more worthwhile? This is the path I believe we should be on, that we're on, a path that will lead us to the top of the mountain, Mountain Vista UU. Rock on. Rock on. Amen.